This podcast could go a lot of different directions in the next few minutes.
One of the key points we will talk about is humor in the workplace. Appropriate. So,
buckle up. You've just hit the play button on The Notice, a podcast from OTAVA with hosts TJ Houske and Melissa Lock. Expect to laugh, nod vigorously, and maybe even fist pump as we dive deep into the tech that powers your business, leadership that uplifts, and how culture can make your company the kind of place where everyone wants to clock in. So if you're ready for insights that stick and laughs that last, you've got a seat at our table. Welcome to The Notice, where tech gets personal and growth is a group project. Let's get started.
All right. Well, welcome to The Notice. We are excited to be back as we've been joking all week together. What's up, brother? So today couldn't be better timing with a message that is humor in the workplace. In addition to coming back to some of the topics that we previously discussed in our S.E.C.U.R.E framework and upcoming events. So we have a really packed podcast today. And with us is newly named Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Austin Cook. So we are excited to have him back. We chose to have him here because he lacks humor. And we thought that in this particular episode, this would be a really great one to help him understand how humor and finance can help together. Fair?
way too
And a little bit later, we'll get to hear from product manager Chris Barlyski. You've heard from him a few times, but he is working with Irma, again, specifically on our S.E.C.U.R.E framework. And it's really cool to see where that's developing and where we're going. We'll talk about our data protection tools and how we're serving businesses and the marketplace in this area. So with that, let's get started. So Mo, humor in the workplace.
Yeah. So we wanted to get started with just a little humor. And I thought maybe we could just try a little improv here. That's one of the ways that you actually teach public speaking is improv helps with that. And you just kind of go with it. And so we just have to have a one line to get us started. And then we just have to keep it going. And it's a yes. Like you have to go with it. You can't say no. Or you can't do a one-word answer that ends the whole thing. Yeah, that's right. And just end it. So you have to try to keep it going and elaborate on the thing that we make up that we're talking about.
This podcast could go a lot of different directions in the next few minutes.
One of the key points we will talk about is humor in the workplace. Appropriate. Yeah.
All right. Who gets it started? You starting it?
Okay, I'll just make something up. What is that smell in here?
I didn't know that you could smell Austin's feet through the video camera.
They sweat a lot when I come to work.
High stress, I get it. I've been in situations where that's happened before, and there are things that you can do for that, Austin. There's powders. There's, some sweat absorbing pads you can put in your shoes. You might want to consider that.
There are. Amazon even lets you subscribe. So it's not a one-time thing. You can recurring get them delivered to your doorstep, which is great.
Well, the problem is that the Amazon drivers stopped coming because they could smell my feet when they dropped the packages off. So I can't get them to deliver to me anymore.
Okay, so we're going to have them delivered to the office. Okay, got it. We will make that change. I will talk to Regina about that.
Yeah. How do we label the shipping, though? Do we want it to say Austin Cook smelly feet when it shows up to the office? Or how do you modify this so it's not so telling?
It would be helpful, but Amazon did flag my name in their system. So anyone named Austin Cook, they won't deliver to. The risk was too high. So I think we need to find a different solution.
Now, here's another reason why we have to reach out to Austin Cook, the golfer. He needs to know why he is getting no service from Amazon.
That's right.
We have to solve this.
That poor guy. 6 months ago, we were talking about how accidentally confusing Austin and Austin at a golf event in Fortinet, and now we're talking about, feet. Like this has gone a really different direction. The correlation between Austin Cooks.
I'm just wondering if there's a chance that you maybe smelled his feet and I'm getting a bad rap for him. I mean, he's a professional athlete, so there's a chance.
Well, again, he's got to come on the show. He's got to set the record straight on the podcast. Austin Cook, do your feet stink or not? Like, we need to know. Inquiring minds want to know. And scene.
I think you got a bright career ahead of you, Melissa. So that was awesome.
Oh my.
Well,
I'm glad that went the sneaky feet route, because there were a lot of other options.
I think that fell into the category of appropriate.
Yes.
Well done, everybody.
Good job.
Good job, TJ. We were most worried about you.
100%. That's awesome.
My goodness gracious. Goodness. Well, Mo, do you want to talk a little bit? I enjoyed what we were sharing kind of earlier this week, getting ready for the show. And I started to do some research with you as well. But, I love how we left yesterday. We were all together. We had this week our, we'll call it early first half year offsite and get together with our strategic leadership team. And the comment that you made me chuckle for the rest of the day, which was, I think statistically we laugh well above average for adults, which is great. But I loved that statistic. It got me thinking, and I went out and did more research against it because it was so polarizing. But you want to talk a little bit about that? Just humor in the workplace, youth versus adulting. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So the statistic was that children, of course, laugh the most. It was 400 or 300 times a day. The average 4-year-old laughs. And that drops significantly when you enter the workplace. Like 23 years old, it starts dropping. There is good news. It does spike back up at age 80. And there's bad news. The average life expectancy is 78. So.
But you're telling me there's a chance.
You're telling me there's a chance.
And the average 40-year-old laughs 300 times it takes 2.5 months to laugh 300 times. And we were having a good time at our offsite. We were talking about work matters, but we kept it light and we enjoyed ourselves. And that's why I was like, I think we are above average in our work, our leadership team, because we tend to have a good time even when it's a serious matter. We balance that levity and gravity pretty well at OTAVA, which is one of our values.
Yeah, for sure.
We
Right?
authentic, have fun, and then we take it seriously. Our humor seriously. That's one of the books I read. It's called Humor Seriously, so that fit in really well.
I was reading similarly in HBR. It was talking about engaging employees, and the effect is double digits, pretty solid double digits on employee engagement as a result of humor. How it creates a welcoming environment for participants to say like, hey, me too, I'm allowed to be involved in this. And life is tough enough. Adulting is hard. we all joke about that on a regular basis, but it's incredibly interesting to watch how quickly you can take somebody that is maybe off-standing, like they're not wanting to be a part of the group, or they're not sure where they sit within the group, and then by using humor, you can create an inviting environment that they can come in and find a way to connect. And I think John Maxwell says in one of his many books, lots of people are good at talking but very few are good at talking with people. Mm-hmm. And humor does a really good job of allowing you to talk and connect with a person. And we're not suggesting it's you're walking around telling knock jokes in the boardroom by any stretch, though that would be pretty cool. But humor does create an environment that's safe. It says it boosts creativity, it boosts collaboration, it boosts trust, and I think so. If you're one of those folks that's really thinking like, I'll give you a great example. I'm new to an organization, or I'm newly promoted to a role, and I'm trying to begin building relationships with the organization. Humor is a really great way to start that early connection to people and just be human, and then start to develop around that, because they have to get to know you before you're going to have a level of influence and develop the necessary trust and those things that we've previously talked about. So now, Austin, we join you knowing how not funny you are. we had you join. No, you know how funny. But no, I mean, Mo and I laugh all the time because we say like, man, Austin is just incredibly hilarious. So we wanted to have you on here to give your thoughts. And I know you're actually passionate about this. We've talked about this many times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I got to be a part of the notice early on in the first season, and I thought there's no way they're ever inviting me back. But then when I heard it was going to be you guys making jokes about me, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense than why I'm invited. So I'm excited to be back. I had a college roommate for, I think, 3 of my 4 years, and it takes me about 12 seconds to get ready in the morning, and it would take him 45 minutes in the bathroom, doing his hair. Now, I don't have my wife. My wife knows why I don't do my hair. There's just not a lot up here left to do anything. He would spend, near an hour doing his hair, and he would always say, "Hey, you look good. You feel good." And I've never felt that because I've never looked good. But as I think about what does it mean to feel good, I think if you feel good, you work good. And when I'm laughing, I think when people are laughing and letting their guard down through humor and laughter, I think they perform better. I think as I've kind of gone through my career, certainly for myself, but I think for folks that I've worked with, you naturally bring this. There's a little bit of stress at work, no matter what's going on, right? There's profitability numbers to think about, or you got customers you're talking to, or if you're in operations, right? Technology breaks sometimes, and so there's always a little bit of stress you bring with that. And I think if you're a little bit looser, it just makes it easier to work through that. I know in times in my career when I've been really uptight or worried about something, I do not work better when I'm feeling that way, right? If anything, it's the opposite. And so I think being able to bring humor to the workplace, for me, being able to make fun of myself, which I do often, and I have a lot of reasons to do that, helps people get loose and know, hey, I don't need to take this as serious. Like, to your point, Melissa, there's a seriousness about work. We have jobs to do. We have customers to take care of, et cetera. But we can do that with a relaxed sense of, hey, we can have fun while we do this. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, there is some science behind it too on some of the things you touched on. Laughing reduces the cortisol level, which is the stress hormone in your body, and it releases like endorphins and dopamine. And so there are things that really do, your body responds to it. And so we experience that through a feeling connected or feeling less stressed or less fearful, or more open, more creative. And it really is a response in your body to those things. I think one of the things that I want to touch on is it can be intimidating to say, oh my gosh, now I have to be a stand-up comedian to come to work here, right? It's having humor in the workplace just means you can recognize it too. Like, do you laugh? Do you smile? Do you respond to things that are funny? It doesn't mean you have to be the funny one, that you have to be the stand-up comedian, or that you have to have the one-liners. You just have to have a response to it and to be included in it and get some of those same, hormone responses by just enjoying other people.
Yeah, no, I think that's sound. I mean, a couple of guardrails, right? Like, to your point, like on one side, you don't have to force it. You don't have to try to be the stand-up comedian. I think wisdom I would try to offer to those that are listening and thinking like, well, where do I fit in this? First, it's always safer to start with yourself. There's a balance between making fun of yourself and talking down about yourself. And no one here is suggesting that you should be self-deprecating or put yourself in a negative light. There's nothing flattering about that, right? So finding the ability to joke about yourself and those things, what you'll find is that sometimes the courage to say that out loud gives somebody else the courage to participate because they feel the same way. At the end of the day, we're all human. And we have those things. And so when you joke about it, you give somebody else permission to say, okay, you too? Like, okay, that's me. Like, I deal with that. So that's huge. Also really paying attention to the relationship that you have with the people you're joking with, in addition to the environment that you've created. Sometimes what you think is funny, somebody else doesn't. Certainly avoid political jokes, avoid sexual jokes, avoid, right, to those things. It's just, there's a degree of error there. it can get sideways pretty quick, right? And then I would say know your atmosphere, right? Like I said earlier, a boardroom is a very different environment than when you're together with your leadership team or when you're in a team huddle. So just some guardrails to help people. But that being said, don't get so stuck on focusing on the environment that you just give yourself permission, because it's very easy as you get older to say, well, I can't do that here. I can't do that here. Like, you can test the water safely and figure out how to shift the energy in the room and create the opportunity for people to collaborate. Otherwise, what I tend to find is, people just grind it, and they look up 6 months, and they've really created an environment of all work, no play, burnout, and that kind of stuff. And so it's a fine balance, but leadership is being first to open the door for others to kind of step through. But I don't know, Austin, do you have any thoughts on that? You do a really good job of. We've been in some difficult situations together, but we still find a way of okay, how can we level set on this one?
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, I think there is a level of understanding who you're with, right? And that's why I know you and Mo talk all the time about building relationship in the workplace, how important that is at a lot of levels of leadership to be able to know your team, invest in them, have a selfless approach to that. Because there are a lot of people, especially in the workplace, that humor makes them uncomfortable. And I think being able to understand that and know that not everybody is the same. Certainly, I know there have been people throughout my career. Thankfully, they've never said it to me. So thank you if you're listening and you feel this way. That, man, Austin, he's laughing too much, right? Like, come on, put a serious face on. And I understand that can be the case. And so I think there is a level of I don't want to say know your audience, although that is kind of what it is. But I think it's just about building relationship, right? And as you get to know people better, as you build that trust, you get to understand that, right? But from my perspective, and it's just Austin's perspective, regardless of where you are, even in the boardroom, again, don't break out the knock-knock jokes. Although I do have some funny knock-knock jokes, just for the record. I think you can still bring some looseness to those kind of situations, and I think people can appreciate that, especially when you're all working towards a common goal.
Yeah, that's good. Sound wisdom.
And just a little HR joke here. This is one of the actual HR approved ways to release endorphins or have dopamine released in your body at work. So laughing.
The approved ways?
The approved ways. That's awesome.
I love it. Well, great section. I hope that people they love it. I think I don't know. I think for me particularly, as I get older, I appreciate laughter differently. There's enough as you age that you experience in life that you think you're ready for it, then it happens and you realize maybe not. And so humor and more particularly building quality relationships to allow for yourself to have that freedom of humor, it gets you through tough times. And if there's any piece of wisdom that I would give to folks that are listening, relationships matter. Like, invest in them, go the distance. You never know what somebody's walking through. And on the other side of a smile is life. And sometimes that smile gets to the eyes and sometimes it doesn't. But laughter gets to the heart every single time if you do it right. And it's worth it. It's a lot of fun. It builds really great relationships. So dig in.
That's really cool. If I can leave this segment with one dad joke, because I'm a dad, so and I'm a math guy, I'm a numbers guy. So what did one math book say to the other? I've got so many problems. So tell your kids that. That's one for the books. It'll get them laughing.
That's awesome.
Well, what do you call a deer with no eyes?
What?
No idea. No idea.
I'm glad I didn't bring my water to this one. He's spitting it all over.
That's awesome.
Oh, that was good.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out with us, Austin. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I always appreciate it.
Today we have Chris Barlyski. He's a product manager at OTAVA, and we have Irma. Irma, help me with your last name.
Oh, DJ asked me this last time too. It's Brill and then Yantes. It's like he called me brilliant at the end of that, but Brillantes.
I like brilliant. I believe that. And she's a product marketing specialist for OTAVA. And everyone remembers Chris from our last podcast where he did a wonderful dance, and we really appreciated that. And we may have time for that today again. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But they're joining us to do a quick overview of our secure framework, and we'll talk a little bit about the U. Right? Is that what we're on? U for undo. Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
That's right. So before Chris talks about the U, and in case anyone missed our last episode on the secure framework, S.E.C.U.R.E is an acrostic created by one of our senior product managers. Shout out to Chaz Motter here. However, it's just much more than that. It's a framework designed to make cybersecurity strategies simpler by breaking them down. Each letter is kind of a component or layer, if you will, and the approach is intended to meet you where you are in your cybersecurity journey and help improve through best practices and potential toolsets that you might consider depending where you are in the journey. And I'll leave it with this, by using the S.E.C.U.R.E framework, businesses can actively engage in the continuous cycles of defense and refinement in a proactive manner rather than just reacting to the threats. And I think that's a great segue for Chris to pick up on the U.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about undo, right? And that's undoing the damage that's caused by cyber events, right? But you can't undo damage if you haven't proactively set up the systems and the protections that you need to recover all your data, right? So when we're talking about undo, we are talking about business continuity plan, right? What happens when? Because it's not if anymore, it's when. So what systems do you have in place? What backup solutions? What data protection solutions? And we're talking solutions, right? Not just I've got a second copy of my data over here. Okay, that's cool, but like you're gonna want more than that. You need to have a process in place for the inevitable situation where, okay, now we have to flip the switch and go, right? That's what we're really focusing on. A big piece of our data protection suite is our new immutable copy, which is a data copy that cannot be modified or overwritten or deleted or anything, right? So a lot of the malicious actors these days are targeting backup copies. So now we've got a solution. The hackers and malicious actors are always the first ones to adapt, right? They always say, oh, what's the next thing we can go get? So we're always kind of playing by their rules. Well, this is the next step to, okay, now we've got a wall up here, right? We're protecting that next attack vector. Another tool that we're rolling out now is what we call anomaly scanning. So what this does is this scans your backups every day and checks for anomalous data change rates. So what are we looking at? So it takes a baseline. Here's what we always back up, right? This is what your systems look like every day, day after day after day after day. Oh, wait, we had a spike. Is that because someone got in and encrypted all of your data? Did something happen? Did somebody delete everything? What are we looking at here? Why did that change? So now we can proactively keep an eye on your data with a secondary solution to make sure that we can react as soon as possible to get our customers back up and running as quickly as possible to avoid any major outages. We've got environment-wide protection. So this is a tool within our OTAVA Cloud Backup powered by Veeam. So there's a solution called Veeam One. And this is a centralized monitoring tool for everything. So it checks our infrastructure, it checks your backups, it does everything, and it consolidates it all. And there's a bunch of different tools powered by AI within that we can run a variety of reports and do more of this anti-malware sort of security scanning to verify where we as a provider are at, so that we are providing the most secure solution for our customers, but also where they are at in terms of where their systems and their data is secured. So a lot of really cool stuff that we can do that isn't just, hey, here's a second copy of your data for when you need to recover it.
That's cool stuff, man. I think, Chris, a lot of times folks struggle with understanding the correlation between, incident response, right? And incident prevention. And the world has spent a long time, a very long time, from tape backups to present, telling everybody, get a backup, get a backup, get a backup. And so by nature of habit, somebody says, I have backups. And now you get the other side of it, which is, well, now I have immutable backups, but it's still following that same thought process of I have backups. But when you start getting into the undo element of incident response, that's the difference between your business coming back online and staying in business or disappearing. And we were just talking about this. There's a large hospital system right now. We'll let the news give out the names. We'll stay away from that. But unfortunately, they're walking through the reality of when, not if. And in their process, they're identifying we're having to turn business away, which in this case, we're having to turn patient care down and send somebody that has an immediate need somewhere else because we're not ready. We're not ready to support them in that group. And it's becoming more complex and more challenging for businesses to think of all of the different scenarios. So the basic blocking and tackling now is really thinking beyond I have the backup, right? Like what does the restore look like? How do I protect those backups? And in the journey of restore, how do I do that quickly? Now, how do I train and educate the staff? How do I have visibility beyond the backup, which is what you're talking about with Veeam 1 and a UI that starts to let you connect infrastructure all the way up to process? So these are really great tools, and it's really important that customers understand they work together. It is a layered approach. It is a process in and of itself. It is not I bought a product and it solved a problem. It is a full-blown process that works through. Fair?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a whole solution, right? We use the term solution all the time, right? Because that's really what it is. It's not just a backup. It's not just a thing that you bought. We're focused on the when, right? What happens when? What can we do to help you when this happens, and make that recovery time as quick as possible.
Yeah. You talk a little bit about secure restore, Chris, and help educate people on like what does that look like? What is that?
Yeah, so our partners at Veeam, they have a functionality called Secure Restore, and we do a flavor of this, right? So there's two pieces to it. The first one is recovering into a clean network. So that's an isolated, clean network that is separated from all of the rest of your systems, so that we can do antivirus scanning live while it's restoring. So there's two pieces to that, right? Veeam has a tool that while it's building the backup image to restore, it'll then do a scan on that backup image before it pushes it out. So then from there, we push it into that clean network, and then we do another scan with our antivirus, or if a customer has their, a bring your own antivirus tool. So then once it's in that clean network and live and stood up, then we do another virus scan. And while it's in that clean network, we can we can dive in through vCenter Console and see, okay, here's the files that we know we're looking for. So let's go make sure that that's all been taken care of.
Yeah, that's great. That's helpful. I think, Irma, from your perspective, when you look at the secure framework and how much it's matured, right? So, initially, Chaz, he still laughs about this. I was trying to create a framework that allowed me to better educate our sales and solution teams to help serve our customers. And then the business team saw it and said, "There's much more here."
Educate everyone.
Yeah, this is great, right? So we want to talk a little bit about why we're all so bullish on this particular framework and what you're excited about. You're spending a lot of time. This is a special project for you of really helping brand this framework and help customers understand how to make good business decisions in their technical journey.
I think what excites me the most about this is that there's a lot of misconceptions about cybersecurity. Like you mentioned, if you have backups, you're protected. If you have compliance, you're protected. And in reality, that's not true. Compliance is the starting point. The secure framework is a layer approach. It's meant to meet you where you are. And to what you guys are saying, it's now not a if, but when it would happen, and if you're being proactive about it. So that's what gets me excited about the secure framework. But we have done a lot since the last time we spoke. We've hosted 2 webinars. with our esteemed partners at Trend Micro and at Veeam, and we've launched our secure hub. That URL is very simple to remember. It's otava.com/secure, and that's meant to have all our centralized stuff, all our tech briefs, all our upcoming webinars, any explainer videos and high-level videos, just to help explain and educate and bring awareness to those misconceptions about cybersecurity, that sometimes what we have is not enough and we need to be poking around proactively to see what we can do so we don't have to react to those things.
That's great. So to your point again, if people want to follow, collect information, stay up to date, otava.com/secure.
That's correct. Very simple.
Awesome. And what do we have coming up? Webinars or events? I know I'm actually sharing Secure Framework and Protecting AI again here at a CIO dinner that we're hosting as a part of the Tech Point board that I sit on next week. So we're getting the message out. But what else do we have going on from your world that we're sharing out to the ethers?
So we'll be having a webinar with Fortinet. I believe they just committed to having one with us in Q3, if I'm not mistaken. And then hopefully we'll have another one focusing more on the recover piece with our partner at S.E.C.U.R.E. So more to come on those two now that we've wrapped up Trend and Micro with Examine and Contain, and just recently being with Undo. Now we have a tech brief that Chris just talked about, gave you a high-level overview of what it contains.
It's good stuff. Well, Chris, Irma, thank you so much for spending time with us. This is great. I'm really excited for where we continue to develop the feedback that we're getting from customers, particularly new ones that are choosing us as a result of such a great experience through a consultative approach using Secure Framework as their guide has been awesome. So well done, and having a lot of fun. Can't wait to see how this continues to develop.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Teach.
Okay, well, that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for joining us. Next episode, we're talking about empathy in the workplace, and we have a special guest, Lisa Martez, and she is going to speak on the topic. She's a consultant, a storyteller, and she does focus on empathy at work. So she has a really cool story, personal story that she shared with me, and why she went into this, type of consulting. So I'm looking forward to her joining us next week. And then, like, share, subscribe, send us feedback, do all the good things that we appreciate you guys doing.
Appreciate it. It was great.
As we
All right, Mo,
close,
Ann,
do a
do
decision.
a decision. Have a great one, everybody.